High school football games are supposed to bring the community together, right? But in one small town, under the Friday night lights, a nightmare unfolded that still haunts those who were there. Tonight's story comes from a man who was just a senior high school student at the time, grade 12, back in 2006. Now, nearly 20 years later, he's ready to share what happened to him, his teammates, and his town. This isn't the kind of football story you'll find in the papers or on a highlight reel. This is something darker, something that left scars no championship ring could ever cover. This is his story. I'm 35 years old now, and I don't really talk about this story much anymore. Most people who knew about it either moved away or just stopped bringing it up. But when I was a senior, grade 12, back in 2006, something happened during our football season that still gives me the chills to this day. I grew up in a small town where football wasn't just a sport, it was everything. Friday night games were the event. The whole town would show up, parents, teachers, kids, even people with no connections to the school at all. We had one of those old stadiums, the kind with creaky metal bleachers, half-working lights, and a press box that looked like it could collapse at any moment. Our team was good that year, really good. We had a shot at going deep in the playoffs, maybe even state. And for seniors like me, it felt like everything we'd worked for was leading up to that fall. But then, come the playoffs, that's when the weirdness started to happen. It all kicked off during the game with our rival team. You know how every team has that one team they absolutely hate? For us, it was Northview. Those games were always nasty. Fights in the stands, vandalized buses, cops posted on the sidelines. That year, the tension was worse than usual. In the week leading up to the game, people in our town swore they saw strange things at the stadium some nights. A couple of my teammates said they'd been out running laps after dark and they felt like they were being watched. Another guy swore that he saw someone standing up in the bleachers even though the gates were locked. We all brushed it off as just nerves, shadows in the night. Rival week always got in people's heads. But during the game itself, something happened that no one could really explain. We were up by 3 in the fourth quarter, ball on the 40, crowd going insane. That's when the lights cut out. The whole stadium went black for about 10 seconds. Just complete silence, except for people shifting and mumbling and moving around. When the lights came back on, there was this sound. Not cheering or booing, more like this low, growling kind of noise, like hundreds of people all gasping at once. The ref blew the whistle, but everyone was just staring at the far end zone. There was something standing there. Not a player, not a coach, just this tall figure in dark clothes, right in the middle of the field. They didn't move, didn't say a word. The cops ran out, but when they got there, it was gone. Some people said it was a prank, some said it was a streaker or a rival fan trying to get attention, but the cops never found anyone, and there was no way in or out without being seen. That was the first time I felt it, that chill in my gut that told me something wasn't right. About a week later, it gotten worse. We had practice late on a Thursday. By the time we wrapped, it was dark, and most of the guys were already heading home. I stayed behind with a couple friends to lift weights. When I went back into the locker room to grab my stuff, I noticed something strange. My helmet was sitting in the middle of the floor. Not in my locker, just placed neatly in the center of the room. I figured it was just one of the guys messing with me, but when I picked it up, there was scratch marks all over the inside of the helmet. Deep grooves, like someone had taken a knife or their fingernails and just gone to town on it. Inside, written in a black marker, were 3 words: "You won't leave." I didn't tell the coaches. I didn't even tell my parents. I just shoved the helmet back into my locker and pretended it never happened. But from then on, every time I stepped onto that field, I felt like I was walking into something dangerous, something evil, and felt like someone was watching me. A few weeks later, we lost a teammate. Not to injury, not to a transfer. He just vanished. His name was Kyle, a junior wide receiver. He was quiet, kind, kept to himself, a good kid. One morning, he just didn't show up for school. His car was found parked near the stadium. His gear was still in his locker. But Kyle, he was gone. The cops searched the woods, the surrounding neighborhoods, even questioned the rival team. Came up with nothing. The only thing they found was his practice jersey hanging on the fence by the visitors' bleachers. To this day, Kyle's never been found. The season didn't stop. That's the part that feels crazy looking back. A kid went missing, and they still made us play. We fought our way through the playoffs, all the way to the district championships. The whole town packed into that old stadium, desperate for a win. The game was brutal, hard hits, trash talk, constant penalties, but in the fourth quarter, tied score, something happened that made me realize none of us were safe. I was on the sideline catching my breath when I looked up into the bleachers. There he was, Kyle. He was standing in the top row, wearing his practice jersey. His face was pale, blank, like he wasn't even there. I showed it and pointed, tried to get the coaches to look, but by the time anyone else turned their heads, he was gone. We lost that game, not by much, but enough to crush every dream we had. And after the final whistle, no one stuck around. The stands cleared faster than I'd ever seen. It was like the whole town suddenly realized that this wasn't just a football game anymore. That was 18 years ago. I never played football again after that. Most of us didn't. The stadium got torn down 5 years later. They said it was too old, too unsafe, but everyone in town knew the truth. No one wanted to play there anymore. Sometimes when I go back to visit family, I drive past the empty lot where the stadium used to stand, and I swear, if I roll down the window, I can still hear it. The crowd, the whistling, and underneath it all, that low, rumbling, growly sound, the one I heard the night that the lights went out. I don't know what happened to Kyle. Nobody does. I don't know who or what was on that field that night. But I do know this: senior year is supposed to be the best year of your life. It turns out, it was our worst nightmare. Some say they still hear noises at the field, but others swear the lights still flicker on certain nights, even though the stadium was torn down years ago. Maybe it's just stories, or maybe it's just something else entirely. Either way, thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this and want more true terrifying stories, hit the like button, subscribe, and make sure the bell's on. Because next week, I have another true terrifying story for you.